Just 3 days away now from the start of the sixth stop on the World Surf League's Championship Tour. The Corona Open J-Bay is waiting for the best men and women in the world. Meanwhile, this is the feeder system to that big level. This is the World Surf League's qualifying series. Of course, great to have you all on board for the Ballito Pro presented by O'Neill. And there's your three surfers out in the lineup looking to see who is going to be the dropout and who will then the other two surfers move through. F.Nakagima takes on O.Massin and M.Huscenot.
Absolutely. And my sister and brother-in-law just bought a place in Ballito. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time here. The timing is magical.
Let's have a look at this one. Maxime, surfer that grew up in Reunion Island, of course, along with Jeremy Flores and, of course, Joanne Defay and the rest of them, all of the talent out of that region, now basing up in France.
There's always stick to the face. You've got a powerful, backhand approach there. A little bit chunky and difficult out there for you.
Yeah, there's some big bumps. And
Ballito Pro presented by O'Neill, the first QS 10,000 of the year. Gig Soler's alongside a man that is on his African surf adventure, Sal Masekela.
And loving it, Gigs, absolutely. And Wade Carmichael is someone who really enjoys being here, sort of energy and confidence.
There's a reassurance with familiarity. F.Nakagima, little error there from him as you can see where he's trying to take this heat here, Sal. We'll look into the early numbers in this encounter, the final heat to wrap up the round of 24 here. So no one really getting a standout just yet. Everyone's still building scores here in the encounters. We're down to 18.5 to go. Here goes O.Massin, the Tahitian surfer. Saw him performing well here in the lineup yesterday, getting through to the stage. You can see a couple of the waves starting to fracture up here as the tide runs out. And he's joined the dots very well, has O.Massin. He's plugged each bowl that came at him. And that'll be a welcoming score because prior to that, just a little decimal in the scoreline for the Tahitian. We'll relate to that in a little moment here because here's that wave that you said was three different waves.
Yeah, he had to cross over into this one. Sets up. Oh, let me just hop over into this one. Nice timing on that. Oh, hop over into this one here. Maybe not as hard of a smash.
While on screen, Huscenot is going to get rid of a little decimal of his own. So as the scores are building now, we're following Maxime, opened at the 5-5 two-turn combo. Nice and healthy. He's a big lad as well. Sal, he's around 6'1", so that was a big piece of whitewater he ramped off. Well, let's watch Maxime here, all 6'1" of him. This is that section that we crooned on about. You just see him just dropping that shoulder down there, Sal.
It's flowy.
And I'm going to ask you that question in relation to snowboarding as we just follow F.Nakagima. He's going to get a nice input to the heat. That was a nice little dynamic ramp up there. And now into a new little pocket. Let's see if he can find anything in the final section. F.Nakagima, though, brings himself into the heat. So now we're finally starting to get some shape to this particular heat, number 8, to wrap up the round.
The X Games in 1999 as a sideline reporter in snowboarding as we see Maxime. Look at that lay-down hack from Mr. Huscenot. That was really cool. Probably the best turn of the event so far, of this heat.
Well, let's just have a look here. Nakajima's going to answer straight back to the Frenchman. Is he going to find a section at the end? Yes, he does. So another two-turn input for the heat. F.Nakagima starting to up his numbers. We may even see him go all the way to the lead.
But then they said, we want to showcase that there's a culture to these sports, as Maxime loses it out the back there. And I happen to be lucky athletes in the world that are competing at something right now.
And all the details that matter, right?
Yeah. So I'm very, very, very lucky and happy to still be able to get a chance to do so. In this heat, right, we've seen some really great examples of people being able to negotiate how difficult these waves are. Maxime, right, you saw him get off his line then. It makes you realize, oh, this is not easy out here.
Yeah. You've got buoys littered all over the Pacific. You can almost predict when a swell's going to arrive. This is the technology and the knowledge as surfing has matured over the last few decades. We just really understand everything so much better now and how to pick out those windows of opportunity. Is in the discussion again in 2019 when we talk the world title race. Let's have a look at this one here. It's an important wave for O.Massin, who's going to come unstuck here. The heat out in the water is down to 3.5 minutes to go. Third place surfer in blue is not going to find the answer to the requirement of a 5.21 there.
Then that if they were on a shortboard, then they were weird and they were trying too hard. Now it's the opposite.
So Kelly represents the generation to stretch out all those limits and perceptions.
Motion.
How long you can stay relevant as a performance surfer.
For injury and the body saying like, okay, are you done? Well, if you're done, I'm done.
Yeah.
And Kelly's a classic example of saying, I'm going to see what my own limits are as opposed to what society tells me. And I think that, like you said, it's served surfing, and it's sort of changed the larger conversation of what we're capable of as human beings. As we see O'Neill there, that wave was not the one he was looking for.
Flavio in that second place position and holds the priority. You think that he's going to just take a blanket and squash it over his opponent. Here's your heat leader as we just track the final moments of this heat, number 8. Down the track here, in conditions are fairly falling apart here, so we're wondering what the call is going to be. Flavio Nakajima, a little ramp there as he goes over that one, and I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this heat here, Sal. Level playing field for everybody.
Exactly.
That's always the answer to that question. Of course, that does now wrap up an official result to conclude the heat. M.Huscenot and Flavio Nakajima are through with it. Stay with us. We'll continue. It looks like we're going into man-on-man surfing here next in Ballito, South Africa.